In this gerrymandering series, we have been looking at how each state's congressional districts get drawn. We've started from the small states and are working our way up to the big states. But as we've already seen, while some states do draw their lines as fairly as possible, in other states, people get underrepresented. When the legislature draws the map in a partisan manner, it harms the electoral process even more. This is why I've created this video series, to spotlight the problems and ask for your help in fixing it. Together we can fight gerrymandering and voter suppression. Please go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and contribute as little as $5 to help put the power back where it belongs, with the people. And now we will take a look at the 4-seat states and see just how poorly these lines are drawn. First up is Iowa. The congressional lines have some weird zigs and zags, but nothing really drastic. The drawing of maps is mostly bipartisan. It's possible that a legislature could overturn the Bipartisan Legislative Services Agency's map, but since 1980, when it was first created, it has never been done. Donald Trump won the state by 8%. Republicans won the state congressional races by 6% overall. According to my formula, there should be 2 members of Congress from each party in Iowa. And since 3 Republicans won in 2020, it technically gives the GOP a +1 seat advantage. But in 2018, the Democrats held a 3-to-1 seat advantage then. 3 of the districts are competitive, while 1 is solid red. So we can't complain too much about Iowa's congressional districts. However, according to the formula, Iowa does give the Republicans a +1 seat advantage nationwide. Next up is Kansas. The lines are not drawn in that much of a crazy manner, but the lines are drawn via a partisan vote of the legislature and can be vetoed by the governor. Donald Trump won the state by about 14.5 points, and the Republican congressional candidates won by about 16 points. According to the formula, Kansas should also be split 2-2. Since it is 3-to-1, it gives the GOP another +1 bump to their advantage nationwide. Next is Mississippi, a state where the legislature draws the lines with a partisan vote. The governor may veto the congressional districts. Donald Trump won the state by 16.5 points, and by that formula there should also be 2 Democratic seats and 2 Republican seats. You might question that logic because of the larger margin of votes that Republicans got statewide for Congress versus Democrats. However, in one race, no Democrats ran, so no votes for Democrats could be tallied. If you look at the totals in the districts, it is a clear example of packing, where they push as many Democrats into one district as possible so they have less say in other districts. So Mississippi adds a +1 advantage to the GOP column nationwide. Next up is Nevada. The biggest Democratic stronghold covers Las Vegas. The other 2 Democratic districts cover the suburbs and much of the other landmass of the state. The northern part of the state is the Republican district. The maps are drawn in a partisan manner. Unlike many of the other previous states, Nevada counts incarcerated persons as residents of the last address known and not as residents of the district their prison is located in. I will be discussing this specifically in a later video. Joe Biden won the state by less than 2.5%, so clearly the formula would suggest that the state should have a split congressional delegation. The Democratic congressional candidates also won the statewide vote by less than 2.5%. The population difference between the smallest district, District 1, and the largest district, District 3, is 145,000 persons. So again, we have an example of an extreme discrepancy in population that could cause maps that appear to be fairly drawn, but not be. If the maps had a more equitable distribution, perhaps the state would be split 2-2 as it should. However, it is not, so the Democrats get a +1 boost nationwide from Nevada. Second to last is Arkansas, a state that draws congressional districts in a partisan way via the legislature. The governor may veto. Donald Trump won the state by 28% of the vote. According to the formula, that means that the Democrats should have at least 1 congressional seat that's a Democrat, but as you can see, they hold 0. The graph for statewide congressional votes is also misleading because there is another district where no Democrat ran, and as such, no Democratic votes were tallied in that race. And this is why ultimately I use the presidential numbers and not the congressional numbers. Because there should be 1 Democratic congressperson and there is not, Arkansas gives the Republicans a +1 gerrymandering bonus nationwide. Finally, we have the state of Utah. A bipartisan commission must draw the maps, but there's no guarantee that they won't be amended by the legislature. Donald Trump won the state by 20%. Statewide Republican congressional candidates won by 25%. And according to the formula, there should be one congressional seat that is controlled by the Democrats. This is typically the 4th congressional district, but the Republicans here won by 1 percentage point. That being said, the Republicans still gain a 1-seat majority in Congress because of the 2020 congressional results of Utah. With the exception of Iowa, all of the states use partisan methods to determine congressional seats, and every single one of them failed to adequately represent the will of the people as compared to the presidential election results. And as you can see, the large amount of small red states is showing one of the competitive advantages that the Republican Party has in this country. By gaining a 1-seat advantage in all of their smaller states, they have now taken a lead in who benefits more from gerrymandering, and that lead is now a 3-seat advantage. This is not to excuse Democratic legislatures when they unfairly draw their lines. The Republicans in Nevada, for example, are harmed when they are not adequately represented in Congress. However, the net advantage still currently belongs to the Republicans. Stay tuned for future videos to see how much the Republicans will expand that advantage. If you want to help stop gerrymandering and voter suppression, you can go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and make a contribution. I've partnered with Levelfield, and they're helping me to use the tools that the big players use to push for change. But I need your help to make it work. So go to stopthecoup.liberaldan.com and help fight back. That's stopthecoup.liberaldan.com. And please remember to smash that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you can know when my next videos are coming out. And also remember to tune into my live stream podcast at 8 p.m. Central every Wednesday here on YouTube and on blogtalkradio.com/liberaldan.